VR is perfectly safe. At least that's what they're telling you. Every day, millions of players connect their brains directly to VR. Everyone firmly believes that the virtual worlds are safe to enter. They're wrong. When Kai, one of the best gamers in the world, gets admitted to the Cyber Squad, he at first believes he landed his dream job. Yet he soon discovers that nothing is as it seems. Dressed in a high-tech suit designed to protect his body and brain, Kai and his team enter the most dangerous and exciting virtual worlds to cleanse them of everything that could be harmful to regular players. The net is a dangerous place, filled with hackers, rogue AI, and worse. What hardly anyone knows, glitches and malware can cause damage to players' brains or even kill them. Kai will have to put his life on the line to save others, but at what cost? Cyber Squad, Level 1. Written by A.K. Mossycat. Narrated by Zachary Johnson. Hello and welcome back to another audiobook review. And this audiobook, before I get into it, if you have not read the book or listened to the audiobook, I'm just going to tell you right now, I really liked it. Stop this video, go check out this book right away. Then come back and see if your thoughts line up with mine. So, definitely, I recommend this book strongly. With that said, let's go ahead and get started on this review. So, starting with the cover and title. Now, I'm going to give the cover and title 5 stars. It's a beautifully covered book with blues, purples, a good range of colors. The font for the title is really good, and the title's not super huge. If I have to say anything, I would say level 1 is a slight issue, but I'll dive into that later. Also, at least in the audiobook version, I would say the narrated could have been down by the author's name, but that way it wouldn't cover up the picture. But even with that, I do love the way this cover looks, and I think it works perfectly with the title and with everything else in the book. So, congratulations, 5 stars. Now moving into the writing. And for the writing, again, I'm going to give this 5 stars. It's beautifully written. The imagery is perfect. And the author did something that I noticed because it's something I've done myself, where she took things you're familiar with and renamed them. It's basically, instead of using brand names or names that already exist, she used names that sound very close. I'm not going to say exactly some of the things that she did, But here, for example, like one I can make up on the spot, um, instead of Siri, it would be like Sarah. You know, things like that. Where she took something and she renamed it with something you knew, and doing the exact same function as the thing you know, or being close to it as possible. So, and like I said, I in my book series, The Guardian of Light, I did exactly the same thing because I don't know if you're allowed to use brand names of things that already exist. So, like for example, in The Guardian of Light, um, there's Xbox and there's PlayStation. So I said, the character played on a console called a Playbox 4, which was kind of combining the PlayStation aspect with the Xbox. So I love when authors do that. I mean, I'm one of those authors, and so yeah. Moving on to the narration. And for the narration, I'm going to give it also 5 stars. It's really good narration. I mean, it's not the greatest narration that I've ever heard on this channel, but it is really good. And it kept me invested in the story and the characters. There's not an extremely large range, but I do like the way this narrator reads the book. Now moving on to the story. And for the story, it came dangerously close. This is the one section where it came dangerously close to only getting 4 stars. But I thought about it, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. Now, the only thing that brought this down slightly for me that was this story was kind of familiar to me because this very much reminded me of my book series, The Guardian of Light. Not just in the way it was written, but in some of the execution. And I just felt like, I can't, I wouldn't do this to my book, even though people have, they didn't understand. At me as an author who has done this exact thing, I do understand. It's setting up. This isn't like they say, you should do. This is doing what you want to do and not following the norm. Because people who follow the norm, they don't. How do I phrase it? It's basically book by numbers. They say that when you release a book, your first book, you should write that book as is the only book you're going to ever write. Don't write it for a series. Don't make it so open, actually have a conclusive end. So if people don't want to check out the other books, but that's just the point. If you don't do that, why should they check out the other books? If your first book kind of comes to a complete end and you already know it's going to be a series, why would you do that? And AK here does a really good job of setting up this world, setting up all these questions. And I could, on this review, I could be asking those questions, but I don't want to spoil what's going to come. There are certain things that I want to know, and I'm really hoping, like, it's going to be addressed. It's going to be talked about. I'm currently already even starting book 2 looking for the answers to the questions that were left wide open. And the thing about this book series so far is that although it's got a really good story, it's also got a lot of setup for anything. The writer can go anywhere. This is already, after one book, exposing itself for a huge franchise. I feel like there's going to be some bad guy, which was kind of my issue, and that was what nearly brought it to 4. Was for the longest time in the book, you didn't really have a bad guy. You didn't really have a front-faced villain for them to fight. Even at the end of the book, although there is maybe kind of sort of a battle, they really don't fight the bad guy or one of the bad guys. This person gets revealed, but they kind of just disappear and vanish. Now, I'm hoping that will change in the future and that we will get battles between, these things that are going on, and the bad guy won't always just fade away and vanish. But yeah, wow, there's still so much that I'm curious about, and so many questions I have, and I'm really hoping, that the author has thought of these questions and thought of answers to these questions. Here's an example. The main character at some point notices a slight change in this computer AI that's supposed to be his wife in the game. But she made him a bowl of soup for his character in the game, which is supposed to give him something. So my question now, knowing that, this guy has been targeted, is that bowl of soup going to come back into play? I know that's a stupid question, but that's how curious I am. Is the bowl of soup going to come back into play? Was that person that was targeting him, were they disguised as his AI wife? This is the kind of questions I'm going to be looking for answers to. But yeah, it was so good. It was, and it was really reminiscent of mine. One of the biggest issues that people have often said about my own book, at least the first book, is that I bring in a main bad guy. I even bring in a couple, actually. And then for a vast majority of the book, the main bad guy just kind of vanishes. And you're going on this journey with the main character as he becomes this new person, as he takes on his new job as Santa Claus, as he learns about the North Pole. It's close to Christmas, and they've got to get him ready to be Santa Claus, the way the world knows Santa Claus. So they're not really focusing on, hey, yeah, we're going to teach you how to fight and defeat this villain, because they're more worried about getting him ready for Christmas. And then at the end, something happens, and he is forced to confront an issue that he wasn't entirely prepared for. That is kind of how this felt. The main character is living his life. Something bad happens, and it kind of pushes him to join this team and to start a whole new life. It wasn't even something he on the top of his list, but something happens and it pushes him this direction. And then we spend most of the book going with him, learning about this world and learning about, what it's like to be this kind of person. And then he gets a day off and he's just suddenly attacked again. He wasn't ready. It's not like he got years of training. He's only been there for like a few months or a few weeks. And he's just thrown into this big fight. And he has to do what he has to do to bring a resolution to this book. So that is why it matches up with mine. And because I'm always, as a self-published author myself, I'm like, God, when I wrote book one, did I do a good job? I mean, all my readers, they tell me how much they love this, but I've never read a book or heard a book that did what I did. You know, in Harry Potter, which is kind of what I emulated with mine, even while Harry's learning about everything, they're still, they're trying to bring a resolution to the whole Philosopher's Stone thing, or Sorcerer's Stone here in America. They're trying to resolve that throughout the book. Whereas in mine and in this one, it's almost like the main plot is put on the back burner, which they say you shouldn't do, because we're trying to, when we do this as authors, there are two main plots: becoming the new person you're supposed to be and defeating the evil or the bad guy, whatever you want to call it. And one of these two plots has to be focused on. While yes, there is an evil like in mine, the evil was, Krampus is free. He's doing bad things. He's out there in the world. He's dangerous. He needs to be stopped. He needs to be brought back in and contained, or he's going to do a lot of bad in the world and undo all the good that Santa does by spreading joy, hope, and cheer. And that's a good idea. That was a good plot, but it wasn't the exact main plot I needed. It was a device to get the series rolling, setting up my main character, Shane, to become Santa Claus. Almost like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type story. That's what that one really is. And I don't know if a lot of readers see that. This book is very much similar. Like I've been saying, you're going on this quest or this journey with the main character as he learns there's even more to this world. A lot of often in movies and books and stuff, characters are told, oh, the world's so much bigger than and blah, blah, blah. You kind of have to learn as we, fight. But they don't take time to show you why. They don't take time to explain how this world is bigger than you know. It's bigger than you know. Let's go. I remember in Blade tells, oh, the world is just a sugar-coated topping. It's like, really? Because just adding vampires into the mix doesn't seem like it's that much bigger. So, yes. 5 stars for story. I know I spent a lot of time on stories. I'm sorry. But moving on to characters. Now, characters. Again, I love the characters. I was invested in the main character. I was invested in the side character. Even in minor characters, I got invested because I was like, wait a minute, why is that happening? When are we gonna learn about this? And I know that plays partly into the story, so 5 stars for characters. I just absolutely loved every character I got to meet. I'm suspicious now of so many characters. Who's real, who's a bad guy, who's not a bad guy, who's truly a friend, who's not. I got, suspects, and then I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, oh no, that can't be that person. They were there when this happened, so nope, not that person. So yeah, I am loving this. Every character. I want to see every character succeed, except the bad guys, of course. I don't want them to succeed, but guess we'll find out. And I really do hope she allows me to keep reviewing all these audiobooks, even if it's a, day release. I would definitely try to get through it. I like this one a lot. Now, I'm super excited about this. Okay. You'll notice on the screen it says extras. Now, normally, whenever I've done an audiobook review, I have to sadly say, no extras in this book. Let's move on to the final score. But today, I don't get to say that. I don't get to say that at all. Because today, in this audiobook, I finally got extra. Now, this part doesn't really add into the score very much. There is something that's going to come from extras, but yeah. Extras can be good or bad. Let me just say that. It can make or break a book for me. Now, this can be, but not necessarily. I mean, this doesn't really count for epilogue and prologues. However, I am going to say that there is an epilogue. If you listen to it or if you read the book, there is an epilogue. Honestly, I think the epilogue should have just been another chapter. I don't think this book should have had an epilogue. I think it should just have been straight up the last chapter of the book, and that was it. Because epilogues are, it's really the writer's choice. And I'm not going to tell the writer she can't do it. But normally, epilogues are only at the end of the very last book to kind of wrap up and conclude what happened, It's like when you watch a movie that's based on true events. Right before the credits roll, it tells you about the main characters. Like if somebody ended up in prison, and then it says, oh, they served 23 years of a life sentence before they died, and this person went on to do this. That's kind of the epilogue, In the Harry Potter books, which, if you've been following my channel, I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter franchise. We only really get an epilogue at the end of the last book. And that's what the epilogue is for. I honestly think this epilogue could have just been the last chapter, and that could have been it. But is that the extra? Is that it? If that was it, why haven't I been putting extras in all the others? Because that's not the extra. No, the extra here is she gives us the first chapter of the next book. So at the end of this, after an epilogue, after everything, she actually gives us the first chapter to the next book. A sneak preview of what's to come. Kind of like a next on, Although, if you listen to these back to back, I guess you really don't need that because you're just going to jump straight into the next book anyway. But like right now, like I said, I'm listening to book 2 in this series, and if she holds to this, then I'll get a sneak peek at what's coming in book 3, and it's going to make me want to listen to book 3 all that more. So, I honestly won't be able to wait. I don't know. But yes, that is the actual sneak peek at the next book. It's a brilliant idea. I love the idea. Um, so congratulations to the author for that. And now moving on to the final score. And for the final score, I am going to give this a 10 out of 10. A 10 plus. What's the plus? That's the for having the extras. It gets a 10 plus score. Like I said, I can't go on about how good this is. One of the better audiobooks I've listened to in a very long time. I've enjoyed all the audiobooks I've listened to on this channel. If I didn't, I wouldn't review them. I mean, even if I didn't enjoy it, I'd tell you guys. But, I mean, this is like one that, I'm a huge fan of Ready Player One also. And that's what a lot of this reminds me of, as well as reminding me of my own books. So I really loved it. It had a beautiful cover that fit the theme. And honestly, if this was turned into a movie, that'd be great. I'd I'd probably watch this franchise of movies over and over. It could even be a live action television series. Now, I don't think it should be an anime because animes are mentioned quite a bit in this. It definitely should not become an anime. If it were an anime, it'd be kind of a little too meta on itself. So, but yeah, I think Netflix needs to turn this into a movie or into a live action series. So, with that said, definitely consider if you haven't and you listen to this whole rant and review, definitely consider checking out the Cyber Squad series, Level 1. It's available on Audible and Amazon. If you want the audiobook or you want the paperback, it's definitely worth checking out. Um, and yeah, that has been my review, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.